So let's talk about integrating metal into your 3D print. It's actually very easy, and I'll show you how. Alright, so here's my print. I'm just going to take it off. This is PETG. It comes off pretty easy. This is a texture plate. I'm going to put something to protect my area. Alright, so before I show you how I did this, okay, we're going to do strength test and then I'll reassemble it, okay? So I'm going to pull. Okay, this is my second time doing it. You'll notice that the 3D print didn't break at all. It was the clips that broke, okay? So let's do this over again. So, okay, now we have this, and then we're going to need one nut. We're going to need an eyelet. Now, something to note is the nice thing about using negative volumes is, let's say we printed it out and this part isn't big enough. Well, you can just go make sure you turn the lock button back on, and then you can scale it by like 101. You know, you can do little bits to get what you need to, okay? Originally when I did it, it was just a little bit too small. It did not work as well. But then I readjusted the position and then I made it a little bit bigger, and here we go. So you're going to take this, I'm going to put it in. Got to make sure that the sides are. Okay, and I'm going to use something so that it doesn't hurt my hand so much. Just push it in. It's not too hard to do because it is the right size. I tend to like to add 0.2 to whatever the size is. So I'll turn on the lock button. If it's like 6 millimeters, I'll add 6.2. That's been working for me really well with this printer. With different printers, sometimes I'll do a different number. You know, it's to what your specific printer is going, okay, is doing. So we're going to make sure that it is in the middle, and it seems like it is right in the middle. Probably can't see it too well. Let's see, can I turn on the flashlight? So yeah, you can see it right there, okay? Now, all I do is I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to need to add a little bit of pressure. Screw it in. And what I should have done is I should have had this one go in a little bit more, and then that would have sat in flush. So this is, next time I print this, I will just move the negative volume. If I had done this in Blender, I'd have to go into Blender, I would have to move the vertices, I'd have to make sure that everything is manifold. It can be a headache. And then for personal reasons, I had to learn how to constantly fix my jewelry. And so I have jewelry making stuff, okay, because everyone needs to know how to fix jewelry when it breaks. And so these are not necessary because these ringlets are pretty nice. They're stainless steel. You can get them off Amazon as well. These are lobster. You can get them off Amazon as well. You can use your nails, but this makes my life easier. I like making life easier. So I'm going to take it and you're going to pull it. Actually, first, I like to put one ring on, make life easy, less work. Okay. Kind of helps also to pull it down. You can use this part to pull down. Okay. And then you're just going to take it and turn it. Now, don't worry so much about this warping because the style of this keyring, there's a neat little trick I'll show you. So you're just going to turn it. Come on. Okay. These links are still good, but we're going to do it over again anyways. So you can see the full process. Oh, sorry. Let's use pliers. So these are some really nifty wires, but if you didn't have them, what you can do is you'll put the small clip in first, okay? Twist it. It'll kind of help keep them apart. And then you'll just push it over like so, okay? Do recommend pliers, does make life easier, but just in case you don't have them. I have a bunch of jewelry fixing equipment. Because I've had to fix a lot of my jewelry over the years. So, all right. So this is fresh. Let's do all new parts. Okay. So These are little links, and you can do these kind of links. This is over here. This is a little stainless thing. Now, if you wanted to take it off and to use it, okay, what you will do is you'll need 2 pliers, okay? And you'll need 2 real pliers. And the only recommendation I have for this is that if you are going to use pliers, I do recommend that they are smooth on the inside, otherwise you'll have marks, but it's not a big deal. So what you're going to do is you're going to take them like this, okay? Now, if you pull it apart, you're going to have a hard time getting the shape back. So what you do is you kind of want to brace it and you're twisting it like so. Okay, come on. So you can see I twisted it like so. Let's gently move that out the way. Okay, so you can see that it is twisted like so. And then you can take the part off. Now to twist it back, you're just going to do the same process over again. And we're going to just twist it. Now just want to make sure that you have everything lined up. So it's better to kind of push it in. And these are not exactly the right pliers. Highly recommend real pliers. So you're going to want to push it in, kind of, sorry, it's kind of hard to do this and make sure I'm in the camera. Okay, put it in, and then you're just going to push it, okay? So that the link, come on, so that is where you want, okay? Now, you can do that. I prefer these. I don't like things that have a gap that can get caught on my clothes. These tend to be a little bit better about that. So I do recommend though that for this part you do use a larger one, but I'm going to use a smaller one to show you what happens if you do stretch it. Okay, so if you don't have one of these, what you're going to do is, this is why I don't have nice nails. Oh well. So first, get another one, okay? We'll start with 2. And that will make life easier. We're going to push it in. And now sometimes some of these, now these are nice stainless steel ones, but sometimes they are stuck. You'll want to, if they are stuck and you're having a hard time, just take your pliers and just, okay? So now you're going to take it, twist it so that you have a opening that's easier. And then you can push through, okay? And then you just turn it, okay? Life is easier with pliers though. So let's plier them. Now, if you have a little gap, don't worry, especially since these rings are not flush. All you have to do is twist it around, okay? And then you're going to move on down. Okay? Okay. And you'll see that it is no longer, there's no longer a gap. Okay, now for the last part, what I do recommend is get one of these, and another. Let's make life easy and attach them both to here. And then or what you could do is, depending on how long you want, okay? You could do this combination and then attach it, or if you want to be a little lazy and less work, just depending on the length you want. If you want it to be shorter, this is better. So we're going to first add it to here. Now you're going to just come over here. Okay, and turn. All right, there you go. You can attach it to, and I like this because you can easily take it on and off and attach it to things. This is just a lobster necklace, lobster claw. I get them in stainless steel. There you go, if you want to add them to keys. All right, so this is the model that I'm working with. Now, a lot of times it might be easy to just edit. What I like to do though is I recommend you're going to copy, paste, okay? And you want to have a different model, okay? So really quickly, we're going to copy the whole. I accidentally copied just the screw. We're going to hit the merged, going to copy it. You can do that. You can do Control C. Okay, you're going to Control V. Now, and you'll notice I have other ones. I always like to keep copies of, kind of like a way of saving my work, okay? Now, I could hit parts as well, but you'll have a problem with that because the way I modeled this in Blender, each petal is separate, and I did that for a reason, but either which way. All right, so we are going to make some of them not visible. We only want this model to be shown. And I'm going to put this one, and if you see the eye, you make it not visible, and if you hit this button, arrange, you'll only see the one, okay? I need to get rid of my wipe tower, so I'm going to go to my settings, and I have the XL, so, okay? Now, we have just the item, okay? I am going to make these smaller so that we only see what we need to see, all right? So I'm going to delete these for now. Okay, so I have negative, so these are negative volumes, and these are support blockers, okay? And support, I believe these are support enforcers, okay? But we're going to hit delete. So now the only thing you see is flower, okay? And you can take one STL very easily and subtract it for another. Like if you want, if I wanted to take this and I wanted to put it in a bowl of some sort or integrate it into the bowl, you can merge it, or you can make it so that you print this part and then you subtract it from the other, so you can print parts separately as well. That's one option. So let's get to it. Okay, so I could right click it and then I could go to add negative volume, but first it's easier to add it to the bed. Now, Prusa Slicer has this great little thing. It's not really hidden, but I don't know if I've ever seen a lot of other people use it in the group forums and whatnot. I don't watch a lot of tutorials, so maybe other people are using it and I just don't know it. So we're going to hit Shape Gallery, and I'm going to click on the nut and the screw. Prusa Slicer provides them for you. Okay, you're going to add them to bed. Okay, do I want to consider them as having multiple parts? I mean, you could hit yes to make life easier, but I'm going to hit no. Okay, so now we have 3 items on the bed, okay? We're going to move them. Now, and I moved it like that for a reason. I didn't have to. I could have made my life simpler. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that this part is perfectly lined up into here. And that's super simple to do. So you're going to shift, click, and one of the items is going to turn pink. You're going to be able to see, if you right click, you're going to see this merge. You're going to hit merge. Now, in the object manipulation table all the way on the right, this is the best table ever. At first, when I first started doing, I used to try to scale and do that. Don't recommend it. The manipulation table is what you need. Now, also, when you rotate an item, be wary of not rotating in like with decimals. It will mess you up later. So you can do that all from here. So what you're going to do is you're first going to go to your object coordinates. Then you're going to click on the specific item within the group, okay? And you see how it says negative and this? You're going to zero it out. So everything is going to go to the midpoint of your item, okay? So you're, and gotta actually hit 0, okay? So now everything is centered perfectly on the middle point of the item, or the middle point of the group, okay? So we'll see everything is perfectly lined up. Now, what we need to do is we are going to need to move the nut to the top, okay? So let's move it up. You can do Z. It's not such a big deal. I tend to do Z right here, okay? You can kind of see where this is starting to go. Now, what we're going to need to do is, Control Z. Okay, so first let's do it this way, okay? We're going to take this item. We need to rotate, okay? You don't want to rotate it this way. You're going to want to rotate it that way, okay? Because so let's rotate. Now, you see the red? Now you can also do negative as well, okay? So let's do negative. We're going to do negative 90, okay? So it is where we want. Now, if I had done it the other way, okay, let's do it by 90 degrees. Oh, let's do it by 45. Sorry. Okay. Wah, wah, wah. Let's try this one more time. And okay, there we go. That's what I wanted. If we were to do it this way, okay? And So when we go to put this inside here, the problem is the negative volume will have this shape, and here. So if, let me move this in so it can be better, okay? So when you do a negative volume, it will subtract from the print, okay? So if I were to do this and then I was to copy paste, and this isn't perfect right now because this is just part of, okay? If you were to do that, that would be really hard to make sure that, you know, your nut gets to where you want it to. You wouldn't be able to push it past this point because it would get stuck right in between, okay? So what you have to do is we're going to delete that one, okay? So we want to then again put this back to, we're going to rotate the item by 90, okay? And let's make sure that our item is how we want it to be. We're going to bring it out. Okay, good. Now, let's move it to kind of where we want it to. Now, on the last print I did, I should have made it go in a little bit. I didn't. And this is why I do recommend doing this in the slicer. Why? Because if you make a mistake or something isn't what you want, you can so much more easily manipulate it, print it, manipulate, print, and you'll get what you want. If you tried to do this in CAD or Blender and this would be what you would call a Boolean. You would subtract the Boolean. Well, that's a permanent fixture. So let's say you need it to be a little bit smaller. It's too big. Well, you have to go all the way into Blender. You have to pick the vertices. You have to shrink it, or you have to just start over again. Why do extra work? Just when you specifically have it here. If you have the STL file of whatever you want, it's easy. So that being said, now, how do we make this subtract from 1? So we're going to click on 1. You're going to hold the shift button, and then you're going to hold here, okay? And then you're going to right click and merge. If you wanted to do over here, sometimes you can do it over here in this little panel as well, okay? So you can also hit the shift button and pull down, and you will have that, okay? Now right click, we're going to merge. Now don't zero things in, okay? Be careful about that. So go over here, click the ones you want, okay? Move it to where you want. So just make sure that the specific variable is zeroed, okay? So we're going to want this to be zeroed. The 042, we're going to zero that, and you got to make sure that they're both, okay? We're going to leave X alone because we have that where we want to. You have to make sure that it is high enough off the ground so that there's support underneath, and you also need to make sure that it is not being exposed, because if you were to move it too high, here, let's make each one, so unfortunately, you can't do both at the same time, so you have to do it one by one. Negative volume. Okay, so you'll see that there's a negative there. Now you're going to right click, you're going to go change type, negative volume. Okay, so when we slice right now, you'll notice that that part is subtracted, okay? But, well, we have an issue, right? You're not going to be able to get that part all the way through. Let's just make sure that we go down, okay? And make sure that there are enough layers. Okay, that should work. All right. And now what we want to do is we need to make it so that we're able to actively put that part in. How are we going to do that? Easy way to do it would be, so first, let's make it visible so you can see what's going on here, okay? Let's press 1. So I'm pressing the 3. I'm going to move this down. Okay, so now we can see it's under the bed right now, okay? You can see what's going on. So what we have to do is we need to take this part right here. We need to take the hex nut right there, okay? Easy way to do it. I mean, I could just expand Z, but I prefer to copy, paste, and just bring it down. Okay, just like so. Now, we're going to shift, move everything up, make sure that that bottom part is exposed. So when you hit slice now, you will see that you're able to slide the nut in, and then you can also screw. So you can screw through, you can slide the nut in and then screw it through, okay?